gentlemen, our guest at this time, Georgia Premier Wrestling star. He is the Beast of the South, Cyrus, the Destroyer. Cyrus, welcome to the WSE Lounge.
Thank you guys for having me.
You're very welcome. Cyrus, I want you to know that I have, whenever I went back in February to Georgia Premier Wrestling, and AJ Styles wrestled Corey Hollis in his final independent match, I have bragged to different people about your match with you and Johnny Rocks. When I saw you in that ring, I saw what many people would refer to as a indie version of Brock Lesnar, because that's basically what you are. And I think you are unbelievable in the ring.
Well, I greatly appreciate that. That's my thing. Every time I go out there, that's what it's about. I just want to put on a great show,
Well, you're very welcome, and I got to say that you and Johnny Rocks and every other star at Georgia Premier Wrestling, y'all always seem to bring down the house. You always seem to put on some very great matches, and you and Johnny Rocks back and forth in that matchup back in February, and I know that y'all have fought since then against each other, and it was like the kind of like David and Goliath, in that match, because Johnny Rocks being a smaller competitor than yourself, and you being kind of like a beast or like a giant in the ring, and I just think that y'all really put on a great show. And another thing I was impressed with, and I was telling Woody about this, is before the show y'all opened up with prayer, and you don't see that often on the independent scene or anywhere else on the wrestling scene, for that matter.
No, you really don't. I think that's the reason I'm real happy to be with that show, because they do have a strong faith in God, and they like to put on good, clean, fun, entertainment, as you might say, for the crowds and everything. And that's something that can help parents with their kids and everything know that they can actually bring them to something, to a showcase like that, and not have to worry about any cursing or anybody doing that. So, because we don't even, Woody and them with that show, if they have people cussing in the crowd or anything like that, they'll tell them that they can't do that at their show and everything, that it's a family show and that's the way it's supposed to be ran.
Well, I think that is, I think that's wonderful. I really do. Jason, you got a question?
Elaborating on that, I was going to say that is definitely a good thing. I like the strong faith in God and to keep it clean, because I've seen promotions, I'm not going to mention any, the fans are just out of control. They use the F-bomb a lot, and it's not good. I would not take my kids, if I had any, to any shows like that. I like good, clean, professional wrestling, if you will.
Right, exactly. I feel the same way. I've always felt that way. Even before Georgia Premier Wrestling started, I've been to shows where the cursing was allowed and everything, but I never done it. I've always been a strong believer, in my character. I am a heel, and I've always been a strong believer. Is if I can go out there, I don't have to put people down. I don't have to curse them or anything like that. I can get over with just arrogance and being cocky out there in the ring, and that'll make people just not like me anymore, So, and I believe that's what that's all about.
Absolutely, Cyrus. And another thing is, my thing is, cursing makes it easy. When you're cutting a promo, you have got to be more creative. You don't need the cuss word. You need creativity from the mind and from the heart. And that's the way I think the wrestling business should go. The cussing is just to get a point across. You don't need that. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that 110%. I can go out there and if I use the words "I can't be beat enough," finally it gets on people's nerves, and they want to see me get beat. And that whole time, I never had fun to nobody, and I never had to cuss one time. So, I mean, and I tell people I know I'm not the best out there, but I do pride myself in being able to get over that way without having to use that, without having to cut people down and everything. So.
I wanna let the fans know if you have a question for the Beast of the South, Cyrus the Destroyer. You can call in at 773-897-6289 and press 1 to be in the host's view, and we'll get you on the phone with Cyrus. Cyrus, how did you get your start in professional wrestling?
Well, I was 20 at the time, and I was playing semi-pro football, and I had a guy come up to me one day, and he asked me, he said, "You ever thought about being a wrestler?" I was like, no. I really don't have a whole lot of money to sink into it. And, I was lucky enough that he said, "Well, with your size, we'll train you for free." And I was like, okay. So I kind of got into it, and the one guy that I got to train him with, he told me he could just show me a little bit of stuff, almost enough to be dangerous. And then I got in. I was real lucky where I was at. I kind of became the Heinz 57 of UEW back in the old days when Robbie Griffin owned it, and they put me in there with Woody, with Big Wood. Woody helped train me. Ted Allen helped train me a lot. I was real fortunate with it. I was real fortunate to be in the ring with him a bunch of times because he did teach me a lot on the psychology. He did gripe at me a lot for stuff I did in my earlier years and everything because, I didn't always portray the big guy and everything, and he always said that I needed to. But that was really how I got into it. And, since then, everybody always asks me how long I've been in the business, and, I'll tell them if we were going with training and everything, 12, but from where I really actually started learning and everything, I would say I've been in the business about 6 years, because that's when I got it in my mind that I didn't want to be stuck at one show for the rest of my life. I wanted to move around, and I knew the only way to do that was to get better and everything, and get my name out there. So
well, I'll tell you what, that's. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, you go ahead. I was done. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just saying that that's very, very cool that that you got free training and everything, and the way you started out. And you mentioned Nightmare Ted Allen. Speaking of Nightmare Ted Allen, do you ever work any of the in memory shows that they do every year for him?
I was going to work the last one. They didn't end up doing the one last year and everything, from what I had found out. Every time that came up, I was having other dates with, like, Empire, doing shows for them. And then, I did some shows for the AWF and everything. So at them times, it was where I couldn't really double book myself. So it was kind of hitting in the wrong spot. I would have loved to have been able to work the show for him, for his memory, just so I could give back a little bit everything that he ever gave me and all. So, but, I really do. If they ever do have another show, I will be on that show.
Awesome. I know you mentioned Ted teaching you psychology. That's one of the main things. When I was learning and training in the business, I was told that it was 80% psychology, 20% physical. And it's always irked me when guys go out there and they don't really it can be complicated, but they don't understand the psychology part of it. And, they'll do DDTs during the shine and all kind of stuff, and it really irks me. Elaborate on that for our fans. out there, Cyrus.
Yeah, yeah. To me, you've got to tell a story.
Exactly.
It's one of them things. When you go out there to that ring, you have to tell a story. Whether it's the David and Goliath, the hill and the baby. I mean, there has to be a story there. If you go out there and do a million suplexes at the end, say your finish is a superplex off the top rope, you've told nothing. You pretty much. I mean, I know a lot of people know that we're predetermined in this world nowadays and everything, but I still feel that you still want to soak them into a story. It's kind of like you go and watch Spider-Man or you go and watch the Avengers. You know it's fake, but they do such a good story, it pulls you into it and everything. So, and I feel that, that's our job too out there, because, people do pay their money for it, and, I mean, they do deserve it and everything, because they want to be entertained. I feel, we're that difference with, instead of going to movies and a dinner, let's go to a wrestling show and watch these guys with live entertainment. It's a different experience, as I'd say.
Now, I want to ask you real quick, Cyrus. I know a few weeks back, one of our good friends of the WSE Lounge and one of Jason's good friends, Tyson Dean, was down at Georgia Premier Wrestling. He made his debut. Did you get a chance to meet Tyson Dean?
Tyson Dean. Which show was that?
It was about 3 or 4 weeks ago. It was down in Canton, Georgia.
Yeah,
I think I know what it was. He wrestled Ray on that card.
I don't think that I was at that show. I don't believe.
Okay.
I don't recall being at that show, which I might have been, but then again, I might have been running late too. So sometimes I run a little late and everything. So, but I'm sorry. I don't think I did get the chance to meet him, or if I did meet him, it was probably real quick, and I was running late, and I had to go over my match and everything.
Yeah, just a handshake.
I know your manager is Chase, I believe it is. I can't think of his first name.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Logan Chase.
Logan Chase. He reminds me, the first time I seen you in action, I seen him interfere in the match with Johnny Rocks, and then I believe it was Turk that came out and turned bad and joined the Alliance. But the first time I saw Logan Chase, I saw a mixture of Paul Heyman and Jim Cornette. Do you agree with that assumption?
Yeah, I completely agree with that assumption. That's what I've always kind of told you. And when you were saying earlier, I was kind of like Brock Lesnar at the indie show. We have a funny joke when we're in the back. I always look at him and say, "Hey, you're pretty much just my Paul Heyman here." So, and I'm like, he'll laugh about it and everything, which. And he was a huge Jim Cornette fan as well. So, and he can cut a promo better than, I don't understand why, I'd love to see him go further with this, because he's one of the best people that can cut a promo for anybody and just think off of his feet just like that and get it over. It truly is amazing.
I'll tell you what, it's just, I'd like to elaborate on that. Talking about Logan Chase and great promos, the problem is, and I know you'll probably agree with this, Cyrus, the problem is there's really 2 or 3 big places to go if you want to consider Ring of Honor and TNA. During the territory days, I mean, all of us would have jobs and we'd all be paid. But because right now the WWE is the only place to go, you see really talented guys not make it to that next level.
Yeah, exactly. I completely agree with you. I mean that's true. And, you know, I have my sights set on places like Ring of Honor or Global Force Wrestling. I would absolutely love to get on there with them and work for them and everything, because these are those organizations that, you know, they're going to be mainstream. You know, I believe Global Force Wrestling is going to end up being mainstream. I believe, honestly, with Georgia Premier Wrestling, the way that they're running now, and I'm not taking away from any other shows in Georgia or anything, but I believe that they can be the one of the top dogs of the South of running wrestling shows and everything with everything that they're doing, because, you know, Woody loves, he puts his love and passion into this business. This is really the only thing he's ever known his whole life.
Yeah, Woody knows what he's doing, and it's you know, once you've got to have a great mind behind everything, and I definitely agree with you on that. He's very good at what he does.
And also Renegade Championship Wrestling, they're pretty far out there too on the independent scene, because I know y'all. I think y'all work together too, don't you, Cyrus? Renegade Championship Wrestling.
Yeah,
don't y'all kind of work together?
Yeah, we went and did a promotion with a seminar with Jeff Jarrett this past weekend, and you know, after the seminar, they had myself and another guy from Georgia Premier Wrestling, Torque. They had us working a match for their pre-show for them before, because we had another booking that night, and so they had us come in and they wanted us to do a pre-show match for them, and we've done that. So you know, and Woody's really good about the local groups around in the territories and stuff. He's real good about helping them out and everything, because the way he believes, you know, if he ever needs help, you know, he can call up on that and ask for the help and everything.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think that's wonderful that he does that, and you know, talks to the other independent organizations and tries to have a working relationship. And speaking of working relationships, I want to ask your thoughts on something, Cyrus. I was reading earlier today. I know you've heard about the incident that happened over the weekend where EC3 invaded Evolve Wrestling, and that's the same place where WWE is holding their global cruiserweight matches, some qualifying matches they had, where they had some advancements to the global cruiserweight tournament. Well, I was reading earlier today, and this was something that really drew my interest. I know that EC3 showed up as a surprise appearance with Drew Galloway, and he basically did a shoot on Triple H and WWE and NXT. But here's the thing I read interesting about it. They said that the WWE signed off on it to happen. So what I'm getting at here, do you think there's a future with WWE and TNA working together or something? I mean, because they said that nothing that happened at Evolve the other night, WWE didn't. There was nothing that happened that WWE did not sign off on. So do you think there's some kind of working relationship going on, or what do you think?
I'm not really sure, because, I mean, if you look around back in the day at the time when WCW was so big and, you know, they were having the Monday Night Wars with WWE, you know, things started happening, and then it looked like WCW was working with them, and then before you knew it, it was kind of a takeover. It was kind of like also with ECW and WWE. Kind of the same thing happened and everything, and they kind of just drifted it away after so much, because, I mean, you know, the thing is, WWE, they have a lot of money. And,
yeah.
they could pretty much, you know, I'm not calling them a monopoly of wrestling, but I am calling them a monopoly of wrestling, you know, and they're doing the smart thing that, you know, that they want to take over where they do have all these products and everything, kind of like how they brought up the product of NXT and all. So they're kind of getting it from both different viewpoints. I know guys that apparently they don't like watching WWE, but they like watching NXT and Ring of Honor. You know,
Yep.
And then I have guys, you know, I've talked to guys that don't like NXT and they don't like Ring of Honor, but they love WWE. You know, I think it all has to appeal to the stories that you get caught up into.
Well,
you're exactly
that's
right.
true. And something you touched on, though, you were talking about territory. You know, back in the territory days, something you touched on that really made me think about something. The other day, I watched a classic Memphis episode back at it was CWA, and Lance Russell and them were, you know, doing the announcing and everything, and the Midnight Rockers showed up, and they were saying, you know, we've been in NWA, we've been in WWF, we've been in the AWA, and now we're here in the CWA. Well, back then, you know, the wrestlers were allowed to mention other promotions, but nowadays, unlike WWE, they can't mention TNA or other stuff. So I just find that kind of funny, you know, how the times have changed, you know.
Well,
yeah, that is. All right, I was going to say, yeah, that is pretty funny. It's kind of like it. If you do mention any other promotions or anything, you might get yourself blackballed, you know. That's really that kind of goes now.
Another thing he touched on was the product. You know, WWE being really into the product and you know, marketing. I think you were going with that, weren't you, Cyrus?
I was, yes, sir.
The marketing. Well, if you remember, in the late '80s, of course, AWA went out in '90. Vince brought up world class AWA. USWA became pretty much the minor leagues for WWE, and you know, Vince McMahon Jr. His dad would have frowned upon doing that because his dad would have said it was killing the business. But Vince used it as a marketing tool. He had the best talent on one roster you could possibly have. And I was just elaborating on that, Cyrus. As a kid, you grew up watching. Cyrus?
I'm sorry, hello? My phone cut out. I apologize about that.
That's okay. I thought for a minute my phone cut out. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, it went completely dead on me, and I was like, well.
It happens.
What was your question now? What was that again? I'm sorry.
Of course, you grew up watching professional wrestling. I'm just curious, what was your favorite promotion growing up?
When I was growing up, well, honestly, I remember seeing Smoky Mountain Wrestling, Mountain Champion Wrestling, and I loved it. But and I was still really young at the time, because I was born mid-'80s, and
me too.
And then as I came up, you know, I watched a lot of WWF because I fell in love with the Undertaker. I mean that was really my guy. And then, you know, and I fell in love with WCW too. I was always torn between them because I was a huge Sting fan as well. And
me too.
So it was really hard to decide which one to watch. I really was looking at it like, well, who are they going against tonight? And then that'll be the one I watch. And
exactly.
And then, you know, that's the way I enjoyed it. But growing up, It was probably an even tie. It was probably, honestly, an even tie between WCW and WWF back in the day when they were still called WWF.
Yeah. But, of course, I was from the South, and then I'm born in Georgia, born and raised in Georgia. So I was always NWA, WCW. As a matter of fact, I was watching wrestling 2-3 years old, and I had no idea what WWF was until the Wrestling Buddies started coming out. And I remember the first thing I ever seen was the build-up between Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior. I was about 5 or 6 years old. So, yeah, I was a NWA, WCW, and Sting was, of course, the one that grabbed my attention with the spiked hair and the face paint and the unbelievable charisma that he did exert.
Yeah, I watched a match with him the other day. It was crazy. It was inside a mall, and he wrestled Ric Flair in a mall. And,
that's the first Nitro, yeah.
Yeah, and I thought that was just amazing. I just when I saw it the other night, it took me back to being a kid and everything, and I was just really excited about it. And I just always thought that that was pure wrestling, and I just enjoyed seeing that and everything.
I bet you liked the ending when Luger comes walking through the crowd. That was an amazing memory for me.
Yeah. Luger, he was, he was really he was kind of like, well, he was your big muscle guy at the time because you didn't really see a whole lot of guys with his physique out there at that time and in that age. I mean, there were guys that had muscles and everything like that, but he had more of that physique of Arnold, and
yeah.
I remember, you saw him as like a force to be reckoned with.
I want to tell you something about you. Go back, I don't know if you've ever seen it. Go back to Super Brawl 92. Luger's the heavyweight champion at the time versus Sting. And that physique that he has on there was, I'm telling you, total Adonis-like. That, probably the blueprint of any way you want to look. You know what I mean? He's 6'5", 290 pounds, solid muscle, not an ounce of fat on him. Best he's ever looked in his life. If you ever get a chance, check it out.
Okay, I certainly will.
We're going to take a very quick commercial break, Cyrus, for about 6 seconds.
Okay.
Hi, this is Eric Bischoff, and you're listening to the WSE Lounge.
Now, that was Eric Bischoff. And speaking of Eric Bischoff, you brought up the wrestling match, the mall, wrestling on the mall with Sting and Ric Flair, and Lex Luger showing up. You can go back in our archives and listen to our interview we did with Eric Bischoff, and he actually goes into details, and he talks about that classic matchup and how they kept Lex Luger out of sight from everybody, not seeing him at the mall and everything, and that's a very interesting interview.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you, Cyrus, who's the toughest opponent that you've ever gotten in the ring with?
Well, there's been a few. I'd probably say Jeter was probably one of the toughest I've ever gotten in the ring with. Out of Platinum. Yeah, that was a fun one. I actually woke up sore the next morning after that match, and it's been a long time since I was sore.
He's an absolute monster, I'm telling you.
He is. It was a lot of fun. I worked him, and we got the crowd pulled into that one too. At one point in that match, it didn't really become about heel and baby. It became about two big guys just brawling it out, and and the crowd absolutely loved it. There was a spot where I picked him up, and I put him on my shoulders, and I walked around the ring
Wow.
with him, and I gave him a fifth Samoan, and you know, the crowd just couldn't believe it. They were in awe and everything. And you know, when he went to the second rope and came off with a second rope splash, you know, that was just something that was amazing all in itself, and the crowd was so up for it and everything. It was such a great match that even at the end, you know, both of us, you know, we shook each other's hand and everything just because of it. And because it was finally two big guys in there that could move quick and have fun. You know, I don't get a whole lot of chances to work real big guys, so when that opportunity comes,
the biggest.
Yeah, and when that opportunity comes, you know, I'll jump all on it any day of the week.
Yeah, Big G,
Well,
he's built at 475 pounds. I will say that's pretty impressive to pick up that mass and Samoan drop them.
Yeah,
I'll tell you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I'll tell you what would be a great matchup is you against Odison from NWA Atlanta. I think that would be an awesome matchup.
Odison's out of Southern Fried right now.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Go
ahead, Cyrus. Sorry about that, buddy.
Oh no, it's fine. I think that would be a fun matchup. I mean, I'm not. I love working anybody. You know, I've just that's the only way you learn. You work other guys that you don't know and everything. You know, I've always believed in wrestling. If you ever get to a point in your life where you think you know there is everything to know about the business, just go ahead and retire. And quit.
Yeah.
It's done. Because I'll tell you, every time I go out there to the ring, I still get the butterflies in my stomach. You know, I still get nervous because I want it to look good. I want it to be perfect. And I'm one of my world's worst own critics. I mean, people will tell me, "Oh, you had a great match," and I'll say, "No, I should have done this." And they'll say, "Well, we didn't see that," and I'll say, "Well, I did see it." And, you know, and it bothers me. But,
yeah, you pick yourself apart, I know.
Yeah, Jason does that a lot. I said, don't worry about that. Don't do that, you know.
Right. But, you know, it helps me. It helps get in the ring and train harder.
And, you know, the learning, you're going to learn when you're 20, 30-year veteran in the business. You're still going to be learning, and that's what makes it great.
Exactly. And never having don't ever mind.
And you know one thing that after listening to you talk, Cyrus, you know something that I've just learned from you is it seems like that you're very level-headed and you take advice from the legends and everything that have came before you, and you're not like some of these independent guys who just think they know it all, and you know they don't want to hear everything from the legends.
Oh no, I'm open ears and I'm always humble. You know, people go and I went to shows where people see me and I go around and I shake everybody's hand and I joke with everybody and you know they say, well, I thought you'd have been a little bit different, and I'm like, no, I'm just a down to earth, humble person that you know loves wrestling. I love pro wrestling, so and that's the way it's always been for me.
Well, that's a great mind frame to have, and it's great to know that you know you're like that, because there's some independent wrestlers out there that you know they don't want to hear the knowledge of you know the ones that came before them, and they think they know it all, and they get in the ring and then they make a complete goof of themselves, you know.
Right. And you know that's something that's always bothered me too. I've been in the back rooms with guys that, you know, they'll talk about how bad somebody is and everything. And, you know, my question to them is, well, what have you done to try to help them? Have you tried helping them?
Yep.
And everything. And I tell them they don't really have the room to talk unless, you know, they've tried helping them and they just don't listen and everything. And then I can understand it to an extent. But, you know, as I tell everybody, you know, if I see someone might need some help, I'll give them. I'll offer you some friendly advice. And if you want to hear it, you can take it. If not, just let me know and I won't say nothing else to you. You know, it ain't going to make me mad at you. It's just, you know, it's all about if you want to help yourself or not.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're just trying to lend a helping hand, and if they don't want to accept it, then, you know, that's their problem. But, you know, you done your part, you know.
Exactly.
I wanted to ask you, Cyrus. Oh, go ahead, Jason.
Just finish up on that. It's usually the guys that, you know, they'll have a big ego. You can tell they think they're superstars, and they got you all whatever. You want to see what's so good about them. Then they start calling their match backstage, and you'll listen in. All they want to do is hot spots. They get out there. It's a spot fest with no psychology, and you're like, I thought you were the greatest thing walking. So, yeah, I definitely can agree with that.
Yeah, you know, and I won't give any names. I've wrestled with people before that they called a ton of spots, and, you know, the best way I learned, you know, and I tell them I don't like calling a whole lot, but I'll finally just shake my head. I'll just shake my head yes at them, and then when we go out there, I kind of change everything. I kind of change the match, and they're like, this ain't what's supposed to be going on, and I'll be like, well, that's what I remembered.
Just tell me the finish, and we'll go from there, okay?
Exactly, and, you know, I feel it. You know, there's certain guys I've worked so many times that all we do is come up with a quick finish because we know how to read each other's body out there. And you know, we know how to improvise. If something doesn't go right, we know how to improvise the rest of the way. And I think that's a great thing. I think it's a great thing when you can do that with a new guy that you're working and all.
Oh, absolutely.
And all.
Well, I see.
You know, usually if I hear if I hear that I'm working a new guy, I'll look him up on YouTube and I'll watch his wrestling stuff. You know, I want to study, and the reason I want to study him is because when I get in there in the ring, you know, I want to make him look the best that I possibly can do. I want to make him just look great.
Exactly. Well, you seem to be a real student of the game, and that's a good thing.
Yes, sir.
I see that we've got about 3 minutes left. I didn't mean to interrupt you there, Cyrus, but just got to let you know we got about 3 minutes left. Well, actually 2 minutes now because the switchboard cut us off at 3:44. I wanted to ask you really quick, though, if you could do a promo for us here on the WSE Lounge. If you could just say, this is the Beast of the South, Cyrus the Destroyer, and you're listening to the WSE Lounge.
I sure can. Are you ready?
Okay. Yes, yes, sir.
All right. This is the Beast of the South, Cyrus the Destroyer, and you're listening to the WSE Lounge.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. And do you have any upcoming appearances that you'd like to promote before you go?
Yeah, well, Georgia Premier Wrestling this weekend up in Canton, Georgia. We've got 2 nights of shows with Robbie E. coming into the mix and everything. Both shows start at 8 o'clock. Doors open at 7. So if anybody can get out there and make it, we'd greatly appreciate to have you.
Charles, what are the main events to that to let everybody know?
Do what, sir?
What are the main events to those shows so everybody will know?
Actually, you know, that's the funny thing. I never know the main events. I don't ever even ask. I apologize for that. I just go in and say, we had on the card and let's do this.
thank you so much for being on the show, Cyrus, and we wish you the best of luck in all you do. We're glad to have a working relationship with Georgia Premier Wrestling to bring more great talent on from Georgia Premier Wrestling. And well, thank you for being on the show, sir.
All righty. I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all very much.
You're very welcome.
Right. Have a good day.
You too.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was the Beast of the South, Cyrus the Destroyer.